fired from my job. 2 times. I know for a fact reading has gotten me in trouble. To this day, I still have not read Harry Potter. Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. This is Brianna Keshell, and today I am finally doing the new to Booktube tag. So I'm going to go down the list of questions. I have the questions right here in front of me, and I've also answered them. So maybe I won't be before you guys too long. And please excuse me because I do have a little bit of a cold. So let's jump right into it. The first question is, why did you start this channel? First of all, I started this channel as a journaling channel back in 2021 or 2022. Has it been 3 years? It's 2022. It was not 2021. I started this channel back in 2022, and it was all about journaling. I had done bullet journaling for 2021 because of a coworker of mine. And when I started this channel, I actually explained that my coworker was like, "Oh my God, your journals are so good. They're so good." And when I would send it to people, like pictures of it, because I was so proud of my journals and the things that I was creating, because I hadn't been drawing or painting for years. So I was like, oh my God, I'm falling in love with art, quote unquote. I've always loved to journal, and I always got compliments on them. And I was like, maybe it's, good enough to put online. So I did that, and I started this page just to help women learn how to journal or to keep a consistent journal. I was doing 2 journals for myself, as well as a journal for my mom, and that's how I started the channel. However, the reason that I got into book content and the reason that I started posting and reading more is pretty tricky. So let me just take a moment and So the reason that I actually got into book material is because I got fired from my job. Let me not put it so dramatically. I got laid off, okay? The company was bought by somebody else, and they were going in a new direction, i.e. they wanted to bring in their own team and do what they wanted to do. I also think my position was, I know that my position was one of the highest paid positions. And if you know, you know. So I had to sit in that. At the time, I was also working at an art studio where I was painting and teaching paint classes. And one of my coworkers at that job told me that they opened a new library in my area, and she had started working there. And she told me and encouraged me to go to the library and get a card and come visit her, essentially. And so I did just that. I want to say, like, maybe that night, after I'd gotten myself together, I went to the library because I had already gotten a library card. I just hadn't gone to get many books. That night, I went to the library. I got some books, and the first book that I checked out, I remember it was Bad Kids by Zai-Jin Chen. That was a crazy book. And then I also picked up a Riley Sager book. I picked up The House Across the Lake. And between those 2 books, I fell in love with reading. I also got the book by Rachel Kane, the first book in her series. And that was the first time I recorded myself reading. And I kind of knew about Booktube. I, at that point, was only following a few Booktubers, Allison Pages, Books and Lala, and Shelby Monet over at Shelby in the Book Club. So I knew about it. I just wasn't deep into it. So long story short, I just started making book content because I didn't have anything else to do for about 3 or 4 months until I started my new position. Another reason I started this is because I was doing book spreads in my journal back in the very beginning of 2022. So my book content officially started on this channel late 2023. However, I had started putting book spreads in my journal like I said, back in early 2022, when I was reading Tabitha Brown's Feeding the Soul, and also when I read Americana by Chimamanda Adichie. Loved both of those books, and I was like, I have to make spreads in my journal for these. So that's when I started mixing the two, and that's also when I started other people on the journaling side of YouTube start to mix the two. Question number 2 says, what is unique about this channel? I think one thing that is unique about my channel at first, especially, is that I was solely reading from the library. All of the shorts that I did, if y'all go back to, I think it's been a year now, I was solely checking out books from the library, period. I did not want to buy a lot of books, and I had a good library. I was around a library that kept things very much so up to date, and that was one thing that was unique about my channel. I had a channel like solely off of library books. Another thing that's unique about this channel is that I am doing both. It's pretty common now, but at the time when I started, I guess a year ago, may have been common as well, but journaling, like having a channel that is focused on my journal and also focused on reading, is something that I want to push for, especially going into 2025. And I think that is very unique. Now, of course, I may lose some people in my community, or I don't know, maybe you're not interested in that. But to me, those like kind of go hand in hand, because when you're journaling, you're either releasing some thoughts, and then when you are reading, you're kind of getting away from your own thoughts. So to me, like I said, they go hand in hand, and I think that's what's unique about my channel, those two things. Question number 3 says, why do you love reading? And I think the answer is obvious. It's fun. Like, I love to read. You can either read for information, you can read for entertainment, you can read for an escape. I really love to read. There have been 2 times I know for a fact reading has gotten me in trouble. Well, I got myself in trouble, but it was in the vein of reading. It was for reading, okay? So story number 1. Oh, this is gonna get me in trouble. But y'all remember the book fair? Do you remember asking your parents for money? They giving you the little cash in an envelope or a little Ziploc bag, and it had book fair written on it. Stuff it down in your backpack. You would go to school, and then when your class was called, y'all would go into the library or the computer lab or whatever, and they would have all of these new books set out. You would go pick them out and you buy your books. I loved the book fair, is what I'm trying to say. One year, I probably had gotten in trouble, and my mama told me she was not going to buy any books, or I just forgot to ask her. Either one is very possible. I decided that I was going to write a check in the 4th grade. We had just learned how to write checks. I was feeling like I should put my newly learned knowledge to a real world scenario. How did I get my mama's checkbook? I don't know. Got her checkbook, wrote a check, but I never actually took it to the book fair. The reason I remember this is because my mom used to help me clean my room. That's a whole nother story. In the 4th grade, obviously, my mom would help me clean my room, and I had just like hidden her checkbook, and she opened it and saw the check that I wrote for the book. I was in so much trouble. I was in trouble because number 1, my room was dirty, and number 2, I stole her checkbook. So all in the name of reading. Story number 2, this was like the 4th or 5th grade as well. My mom was very particular about the things that I watched and read and listened to. She did not want me to consume anything that had to do with witchcraft at all. And at the time, Harry Potter had either just come out or it was gaining a lot of hype, a lot of recognition. I had asked her if I could get the Harry Potter book, and she told me no, very blatantly. She said, is it the witch? And I was like, no, I think he's like a wizard or something. She was like, no, I don't want you to have that. I decided I was gonna buy it anyway. Must have been another year because I had money. Or I asked her for money this year. I bought the Harry Potter book, brought it home, hadn't even started to read it yet. Again, my mom was helping me clean my room this year. I believe it was probably 5th grade. And she saw it tucked into the side of my bed, between like the bed and my bed frame. Because I had like a bunk bed, and underneath it is where I had my desk and stuff. So at the top of my bed, tucked in between my bed and my bed frame, was the Harry Potter book. She took it and threw it away. To this day, I still have not read Harry Potter or seen any of the movies. To say that traumatized me, I was like, okay, she's not playing about this. All of that to say, I love to read so much that almost every single time I got a chance, I don't care if it was going to get me in trouble or not, I was going to try to buy a book. I wanted to be reading the books that everybody was talking about. I wanted to be reading. So yeah, that's why I love to read. And those are 2 examples of how far I'm willing to go to read. Question number 4 says, what are some of my favorite books? Number 1 is Copper Sun by Sharon M. Draper. It is about a young girl who is sold into slavery and her journey. I haven't read it in a while. I think I want to reread it. But once I began teaching and they were pushing literacy and they wanted all of us to fill our classroom bookshelves with books, this was one of the books that I put on my classroom bookshelf. I read this book when I was probably in like 6th grade or something like that, and I still remember some scenes to this day. I have not reread it since 6th grade because some of the scenes to me at the time were so traumatic that I don't want to reread them. Copper Sun by Sharon M. Draper, like I said, is about this girl who is sold into slavery, and it kind of details how she was living a very beautiful life with her younger brother in a country in West Africa, and how she was captured, her family was murdered, they were stolen from their land. She details the journey from Africa to South Carolina, I believe, in America, United States of America, and her life and her mindset and how she had to change, and the people that she met and how they viewed their life. Another one from when I was younger is Jason and Kyra. It's about these 2 high school students who fall in love. It's a romance. Kyra is a nerd, Jason is a jock, and they are paired together on this project, and cutesy vibes ensue. I think I was in high school at the time. It is probably one of the first romances I ever read, and it was very age appropriate, and it was so on, like, yeah. Another one of my favorites more recently is Americana by Chimamanda Adichie. Americana is about this young woman who is currently living in the United States. She, I believe, is from Nigeria. And she is currently, at the time that the book has started, she is living in America, in New York, I believe. And she's about to travel and move back to her home in Nigeria. So the entire book is talking about her life, how she grew up, the school and the friends that she had when she was younger, her boyfriend, the dreams that they had of moving to America together, starting a life. And it touches on everything. And this is the first book that I did book content on. Is it the first or the second? Another one is When Valentines Collide by Adrienne Bird. That is a romance book about 2 relationship gurus, I guess you could say, who are married to each other, but they're having a hard time. They're about to get a divorce. And the fights that they have, absolutely hilarious. It's a romance book, so you know at the end they're going to make it, but the whole time in the book you're thinking they actually might not make it. Also, Take It Back and Perfectly Nice Neighbors by Kia Abdullah. Those are some very, very recent favorites of mine. Absolutely love them. Both of them are like legal dramas. Perfectly Nice Neighbors is about an Indian family who move into an all-white neighborhood, and they put up a Black Lives Matter sign in their front yard. And literally from there, it snowballs. Her neighbors claim they're not racist, but they don't want the sign in the yard. So it is very, very good. So those are two of my most recent favorites, as well as The Thing About Home by Rhonda McKnight, A Tall Dark Trouble by Vanessa Montalban. I have a lot of favorites, and I'm starting to like feel my symptoms right now. So I'm trying to push through this because I really want to get this video out. So sorry if I sound sick or if you can hear it in my voice. The next question is, all I have in my notes is challenges. So I'm not sure if this is like challenges with reading or challenges about creating book content. So I'm going to answer both. So one of the challenges I would say with my reading is that it's just hard to find time to read. I work not really long days, but I then bring work home with me. Sometimes that just can't be avoided. Most times that cannot be avoided. So trying to, and I don't have a job where I can listen while I'm at work. I am literally working from the time I get there until the time I leave. I have very few breaks. I just don't have a lot of time during my day to read or even listen to books. Even harder than that is finding the time to record and then edit. So if I don't have time to read, then I don't have time to record and edit either. I have very, very limited time. Those are my two biggest challenges. That is my biggest challenge. Time. I don't have the time like I used to, and I miss that. It says when I started reading. I started reading very, very, very young. My mom and my aunties have a story about me when I was young and how they would read me bedtime stories, basically. Or books that they thought would help me go to sleep, and whatever. They didn't. I'm saying whatever because they did not. I have loved books from a young age. So, and the story goes, my auntie especially tells the story, and I wanted them to read the same book over and over to me when I was younger. I knew it so well that if they wanted to skip a page or two, I knew it. So if they wanted to like hurry up and get me to sleep and they wanted to skip a page, I'd be like, you skipped a page. That's not how it goes. That's not what's next. So from a very young age, love to read. This next one says where I read anywhere. Since I don't have the time to just sit down and read a physical copy, I read it anywhere. I listen to books while I'm in the shower, while I'm cooking, if I'm not watching TV. I read on the couch, in the bed, in the car, at a park. I read anywhere and everywhere. The next question is, what are some of my favorite genres? And at this point, I think I will read almost anything. But my favorite is probably, I am leaning more towards literary fiction and speculative fiction, science fiction. Love a good sci-fi book. One of the books I did not mention as one of my favorites is John Scalzi. His books, Lock In, Head On, and Starter Villain, love them. And those are all science fiction. Red Shirts by John Scalzi. I love John Scalzi. Romance is tricky for me because sometimes it's very gimmicky now. And I still really do like a good thriller mystery. Love a good thriller mystery. I've read some horror books that I liked. I read some horror books that I DNF'd because I'm scared I was gonna have nightmares. The last question is asking about my book collection, and this is a very small portion of my books. I moved houses recently, and I have not unpacked any of my books. These are just the books that I've bought in the last 3 or 4 months. I was not big on buying and collecting books because I wasn't big on rereading books. I say that past tense, that hasn't changed yet. I have not reread many books yet, but I can see myself reading it. One book that I am interested in rereading is One of Us Knows. I really like that book. It's gotten some flack, but I like that book. I wasn't a big book collector. I just felt like I was in a good space where I had a good library and they already have the book. Why am I going to buy the book? Waste more trees. I'm just going to go to the library. I also was very intimidated by people who did book hauls. So all of that to say, this is not my whole book collection, but I do have, I have 2 more of these small bookcases that I can fill up. But yeah, it's not that many. I don't pride myself in my book collection. Although, when I bought all these books, I did get excited. So I do see the appeal, but it still intimidates me. Also, Kindle Unlimited is great. That stops my book collection as well. So there's that. Thank you guys for sticking around this long. I really enjoyed making this video. And if you are still here, please drop this emoji in the comments. Also, tell me what is your very first book that you remember reading. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.